Now, over the last several years, actually, that I've just kind of been daydreaming about programming games and not really getting very far with actually doing it. I've kind of thought a lot about, if I do manage to make the time to program a game, what language would I like to use? Now, the first one that appealed to me was the C programming language because I stumbled on what was it, Handmade Hero series by Casey Muratori, and he programs his game in that whole series. He does it in C with very little of what C++ offers. That's my understanding. Now, I haven't, just to let you know, I haven't really programmed in C or C++ professionally, or even as much of a hobby at all. So I can only say what I've understood from his explanation is why he uses C, for example, not C++. Unlike another programmer that I really enjoy watching is Jonathan Blow. He's done his games in C++, or he uses more of what the C++ offers in his programming, whereas Casey, I understand he only uses a couple of features from C++, and otherwise it's all C. What appeals to me with C, though, and with their programming approach in general, is I just like that they seem to want to keep things simple. They don't subscribe to the, object-oriented programming is the only way, best way to do things. They have a different point of view that really rings true for me. And in my limited experience, I've only been programming since 2015, and in the web dev space at that. In my limited experience, um, what they say is true. I don't particularly enjoy programming the way most people program, and I don't see the benefits of, like in web dev, for example. A lot of the stuff I've done is with Laravel, PHP, and JavaScript. A lot of the stuff, it's like OOP, object-oriented programming, is the best, and this is the way you need to do things if you're going to build robust, scalable software, etc., etc. And I just didn't see that play out. I didn't see it deliver on its promises. So that's all I'll say about that. Um, so anyway, that's why C appealed to me. I liked the idea of going to something a little more quote unquote old school or simple, less complex. And then I also looked at Rust because I did a bit of Rust programming in the blockchain space, doing some stuff for the Polkadot blockchain. And, Rust was okay. I enjoyed it, I suppose. It was kind of fun to write, but I found it tedious to read, especially, I don't think it was just because the other programmers were more writing things more complicated than when they needed to, but I noticed with Rust there's a lot of generics, there's a lot of use of traits, and I just find it tiring to read. I just didn't enjoy it. Um, and so and even though Rust has a nice game dev community and it seems to be growing and all that, it's definitely appealing in that respect. And the Rust tool chain, like you've got cargo, you've got good testing, and there's a good toolbox there that you can just kind of plug into and use to, write some good stuff. Um, but that wasn't enough for me, and especially with doing games just kind of as a hobby. I wanted to choose something simple like C, but maybe more modern. So I stumbled on this thing, as you see on the screen right now, Odin. I stumbled on Odin in the Handmade Network forums, and I also in some game dev forums, Odin was mentioned here or there, and I thought I'd give it a closer look. At first glance, it kind of reminded me of Go, which I did enjoy programming in. Again, just because of the simplicity, I really liked it. And then Odin kind of looked like that, so I'm like, oh, I think I could give this a try. And the more I use Odin, and I'm still a beginner. Like there's so much of it I don't even understand yet. But I definitely enjoy writing it, and it's fun. It's easy to read. Now, the things I don't like about Odin so far, and it hasn't really bothered me yet, but I've just kind of heard from other people in the Odin Discord group, is that it's still not the greatest in terms of there's not a lot with debugging and whatnot, that it's still not 100%. So there are some debuggers that I understand can be used, like the Visual Studio debugger, and then Remedy. I'm blanking on the full name, but it's only for Windows, and I'm on Linux. So I thought, well, when I get to that point, when I want a debugger, maybe I'll switch to Windows. But other than that, it seems okay. So why do I like Odin? I like it because it's simple, it's fun to write, definitely fun to write. It's easy to read. The Discord community has been great so far. It's fairly active, and whenever I have a question, like within an hour, I'm getting some really good answers. So I like that, and I like that it's fairly new, so there's not a lot of people doing it. But I can click through some of the packages here. If you look at some of the vendor packages that are available, it's a whole bunch that are used in game programming, like SDL2. So I've decided now that I'm learning game programming, I'd like to do it with the SDL2 library, because I understand it's fairly minimal, and it's a nice way to program the kind of games that I'm interested in, which are like 2D over the top Zelda type stuff. So Odin comes with this, and then the bindings, when you're using it in Odin, it matches pretty right up to what you would use in C. So I can look at old C tutorials on how to make a game in pure C, for example, and even C++ to an extent, and then I can learn how to translate that to Odin, and do what I need to do to program my game. So again, I'm just learning. And so far this has worked out pretty well, that I can look at these old tutorials, because there won't be any, really, not many. I think there are a few written in Odin, but I can look at all this other stuff, and there's a ton of stuff available in C, and I can learn from that. Now, what are some of the other things about Odin that appeal to me? Again, because I haven't programmed much, I haven't done much with game programming, and nothing with things like systems programming. I'm only taking what I read here, and it sounds cool to me. Okay, so there's a bunch of different data types that apparently are quite useful with game programming, and that'll probably prove true once I get to that point. I like that it has this neat approach to memory management. For a long time, I've wanted to deep dive into something like C, just so I could understand better how memory works. And you're kind of shielded from that when you use garbage collected languages like Go or PHP, etc., like what I'm used to using for work. And Rust, even to a certain extent, kind of shields you from that as well. It's got a certain approach to managing memory, and it's just one way of doing things. And it's not the way I want to do it right now. I'm not writing software that, like in the financial industry, or, in the medical industry or something like that. So if I screw up and I do some bad things with the memory in my program, it's not a big deal. So, and I would like to learn more and have a little more freedom with managing the memory in my program. So that's why I kind of like the tools that Odin seems to give you to manage memory. According to the creator, what he's done with Odin is unlike anything that's available to you in other languages. So that's compelling to me. And again, I don't know this firsthand yet, but reading and listening to the creator, Ginger Bill, as he refers to himself as, according to him, that the way he's done it, it gives you really a lot of flexibility, and there's a lot of cool ways to manage memory. So I'm looking forward to getting more into that. Just scrolling down a little bit, he mentions here on the website the different libraries that are available, which is excellent. The community is great. I also want to point out, I don't have a link. I'll put the link in the description below. There's a guy who works on the Embergen team with Bill, that wrote a nice review of the language as well, and he covers some of the things that he sees as maybe some temporary shortcomings. So, for example, the lack of tooling for debugging and profiling and things like that, or the limited availability of these tools. So it's an honest look, and it's worth a read. So if I had to sum this up, I know I'm rambling a little bit. Odin appealed to me over Rust and C just because of it's more modern than C, offers a little more out of the box to help me learn game programming, and it seems like it's got a more a modern approach to memory management, which is it sounds cool to me, so I'm all for that. And it's definitely more simple than Rust. It's less opinionated than Rust. It'll give me the ability to shoot myself in the foot, but that's okay, because I want to learn that anyway, and I think it's worth learning. And who knows, maybe in a couple of years of getting more experience with systems level programming, game programming, I'll decide, hey, maybe Rust is better for me after all. But in the meantime, I'm fine using something like this and learning more. So if you're interested in programming games, specifically programming games by hand from scratch. So not using a tool like Unity or Unreal, Godot, etc. And otherwise you would choose C and go through a program like follow along with KC in a program like Handmade Hero. But maybe you want something a little more modern and something that not many other people are using right now. I highly encourage you to give Odin a try because it's cool. I'm really enjoying it so far. So that's it. Those are my reasons. And let me know if you have any questions or suggestions. Again, the reasons I'm giving may not be perfect, 100% correct, but that's only because I'm still learning. But so far I'm having a blast with this language, and it's a good time. Cheers.